Oh, how's it going? Um, Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about mind programs, mental programming. We all have an idea of what that means. It basically means a script has been written inside someone's head, and they proceed to act it out. That script. When I think about mental programming, it makes me think about a video I did previously called The Power of Choice. And when I think about mental programming and how it correlates to the power of choice, it raises more doubt in my mind about whether or not if we really do have the power of choice. And here's the situation. Um, if you think about it, human beings are the only creatures on the planet that we know of that are conscious creatures, but they're born blank, not knowing anything. They are born naive, as was Adam and Eve in the book of Genesis. People are born naive with basically zero programming aside from a few biological urges, like, the urge to eat and urge to excrement and that kind of thing. Of course, excuse me, the urge to breathe, biological urges, hardwired programs. We have a few of those, and our blood circulation and all other kind of things like that. Those can be considered uh, hardware type things in the human body that function that we are created with. But other than that, you put a human being after it's born out in the world, it won't survive. I mean, it's not going to know what to do. Um, you leave a little baby out and about in nature, and very soon it'll be buzzard bait. So, for whatever reason, the creator that we considered omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, even, he created us with the ability to write our own program. I mean, that's probably why people are so diverse with so many personalities and, weird traits and idiosyncrasies mentally and habits. Whereas other creatures like cats and dogs, you'll find cats behaving like cats no matter where you find a cat. They could be here in America in somebody's alley, a mountain lion, or a jaguar in the Amazon, but they behave and act like cats. They have this pre programmed nature, but we don't. And we are allowed to program ourselves, to give ourselves our own natures, so to speak. We have the ability to give ourselves our own nature. And sometimes I wonder whether that's good or bad. Are we really that smart and wise and intelligent to be trusted with that feature to program ourselves? And here's the thing about a program, like, you could train a dog to do tricks and whatnot, even a cat, but at the end of the day, you can't reprogram its nature. Likewise, with human beings, I guess the general consensus is like 8 years. By the time a child is 8 years old, he has a pretty much fixed program nature. Yes, he can go on later on in life and install more software into his programming, but they say the basic program is installed by the time they're 8 years old. And and that's kind of interesting too, because if that's true, that would explain why so many people are so childish and immature, even at old age. And again, as we get older, we're still operating from that basic program, but we're adding more software and data. I mean, there are all kind of programs. Like I was talking to an individual today at work, and he referred to another individual as the important company man. I literally had a conversation with a guy in the store today. I went grocery shopping for a little bit when I got off work, and we were talking, and he looked a little different, and like he had been through some things, some hard times. I hadn't seen him in years, and he said to me, he's like, "Well, now I'm a minister," and he told me where his church is. He invited me to come, and I'm looking at him, and we're talking, and it's actually because of him that I got the idea for this particular talk about mind programs. Do you believe yourself to be mentally programmed? And if so, can you recognize your program? I mean, this guy and I at the store, we talked about a few things. And we talked about, well, he brought it up about how much this world is like going overboard, insane. And he talked about racism and whatnot. And he was talking about people know what they're doing. They just turn a blind eye to things and that kind of thing. And I'm like, man, I don't know if that's true. Because if you're programmed, you got a program, you act it out. You don't necessarily stop to consider the program. Like a cat will be a cat, but he doesn't necessarily stop to consider, hey, I'm a cat. I'm a cool cat at that. I'm where it's at. And it's like, for my personal opinion, if a person's insane, they don't really know it. They just act out the insanity. I mean, that's also, I kind of feel that way about races too. Like, I see, aside from this conversation I had with this guy in the store, I won't mention his name, the newly reformed guy minister, I see people squabbling with racists, saying, you know what you're doing, you blah blah blah, you know what this is, you know what that is. And if that's their program, they probably don't. They're probably just acting out their nature, which is what we're doing. We are acting out programs that were prescribed and installed into our brains at early ages. I mean, we might have some side programming, some surface programming that we did ourselves later on in life, but yet and still, even if we later on in life installed certain programs in our minds, we're still just acting that out, a program. It's like, is there really a choice? How can you not act out what you're programmed to act out? How can you not? Even those people that say you got to have common sense. Common sense is probably a program too. You wonder if it's a program coming from a greater source outside of yourself. That's what it feels like sometimes. And I can vouch for that. But it's still information from outside of yourself, a greater source being channeled into your head, urging you to act it out. It's not necessarily coming from you. Likewise, the programs, whatever you call yourself, whatever you call your personality, like this super important company man guy I was talking about at work with another person. I mean, it's still a program that he's acting out. That information is installed inside his brain, but he didn't get it from inside his brain. He got that information perhaps from books or watching other people do their thing, trying to be like somebody else. Who knows? But that information, that program was not original within himself and by himself. I can honestly say I have acted out programs and still do to this day. And I react also, sometimes negatively, because of installed programs. So, what's really going on with the human race? Are we robots? We're definitely programmed, self programming, I suppose. But is that really a good thing or is it detrimental to our existence? Will it ultimately lead to our demise? Sometimes I feel that it will, and that if the greater programmer, the creator, the omnipotent one, the omniscient one, the omnipresent one, if he does not intervene and come to our rescue in a real practical way outside of what religious doctrine teaches, because even that is a program, we could be in trouble. I mean, I don't want to be a slave to a mental program. Do you? A good idea, a good thing to do is to watch yourself on a daily basis. Your everyday mundane tasks, whatever you do, however you think, watch your thoughts, your habitual thoughts, whether they're positive or negative, just watch it. And you'll be able to determine your program. They say you have to see your program, whether you like it or don't like it. You have to actually see it to really, really become aware of it before you can change it or upgrade yourself. You can't just say, I'm going to reprogram myself without seeing your original program, especially the one that you received between the birth and 8 years old. You have to really see that program. That is, if you don't like it and if you need to loosen it up to start to deprogram it. You got to get past simply acting it out and then later on remembering what happened and say, yeah, I know that. I did that. I mean, I know. I mean, I know what I'm doing. Not really. If you're just acting out a program, you don't know what you're doing. You might have intellectual knowing of a lot of things, but that's not a spiritual knowing. You truly don't know what you're doing, so you act out a pre-prescribed, installed program. We all do. Who knows? One day maybe we'll have the ability to naturally perform conscious recognition of those programs. And at that point, we could program ourselves for the better. I mean, we could cast away mental illness, physical sickness, because it's all acceptance of programming. I think about sickness, and you have all these different things like March of Dimes, and I'm collecting money. I'm going to walk for cancer, and all these different things, charities and fundraisers we do to fight against certain diseases that's been plaguing us that seem incurable. But what if those are just programs that we've cast into the collective consciousness of everybody, and now these diseases can just like randomly attack seemingly anybody because of our collective acceptance of their reality. Folks, I really believe that even diseases, even the ones that seem incurable, those are programs that we have to learn to deprogram. I honestly think one of the reasons why physical cures work, like medicines and whatnot, is because somehow another program got installed into the collective consciousness. Okay, this will work. That won't work. This will cure. That won't cure. Almost like the pseudo effect. We all know what that means. This whole thing we call life, I often wonder if we're just a projection of a greater mind. Like you can project the thought and see a loved one in your head that may be miles away. You can think about that person, project the thought, and actually see it in your mind, that person in your mind's eye. Sometimes I wonder if this whole world and everybody in it, everything in it is something like that. Just a projection, a mental projection of a greater mind. And if that's so, that makes me wonder even more if we are as high and mighty as we think with this whole power of choice thing. Are you programmed? Do you habitually do and say things daily, repetitiously, like a recorder? Like every day I go to work. Hey, what's up, DR? Nothing much. Hey, how you doing? Oh, fine. Yeah, well, another day in paradise. Oh, yeah, another day in paradise. Same stuff, different day. Scripts, pre-written programs for robots that we human beings seem to be. Now, if you're watching this, I'm not calling you a robot, but we seem to be high-tech robots that are beginning to malfunction, go out of date, become obsolete. And the reason why I say that is because common sense is becoming obsolete. And I'm sure most of you will agree with that. Maybe things are winding down. Maybe it's for the best. I don't know. But they say God knows best, and He gave us the ability to program ourselves. And I don't know if we did such a good job. People blame Adam and Eve for taking the fruit, the forbidden fruit, doing what God told them not to do. Well, if they were naive, like little kids were, you tell a little kid not to do something or touch something, and he see all the different, like it's Christmas time, he sees all the little different ornaments and colorful ornaments on a tree, You tell him no, guess what he's going to do? He's going to go mess with them. Same situation with Adam and Eve. Yeah, God told them not to go to the tree of knowledge and mess with that fruit. They didn't know no better. They didn't know when God said, don't do this, that what the consequences really meant. They had no prescribed definitions in their head, no knowledge to understand what death might mean or anything else. They really didn't. They were blank slates. So they did what they weren't supposed to do. And technically, the rest is history. I wonder about the whole thing about giving us blank slates. If God wants us to be a certain way, sometimes I wish He would have just programmed us that way. And I don't know. I just wish things were different with this world. I wish it was a more peaceful place, a nicer place, a more loving place. I wish there wasn't so much pretense. But at this stage, I guess we just got to make the best of it. But anyway, to reiterate, good idea is to understand what your program is by watching what you do every day as best as you can. One of the things you'll discover is that if you decide to watch yourself consciously, you'll forget in it, you'll forget and get caught up in your program. And later on, you'll think to yourself, oh yeah, I was supposed to be watching myself, watching what I do. That's another indication of a program. That's another reason why I believe the Messiah in the Bible said, forgive them because they know not what they do. Because when you're under the influence of a program, you just act it out like being hypnotized. You don't understand. Like I said, the cat doesn't understand it's a cat. It doesn't be like, oh, I'm a cool cat. I might chase that mouse. I might not. We'll see. It just does what it does. And I think that's why the biblical Messiah said, they know not what they do. Those evil people in the book that tortured him, they were acting out programs. Anyway, what's your program? Thank you for listening. Um, Please, I'd like you to like or subscribe to the Spiritology Television Network. If you want to know more about disengaging from programs, especially negative programming, here's my book, The Power of Spiritology by Dario Thomas. It's available for sale at amazonbooks.com. Check me out, support me. Tell you, if you read this book, you won't regret it. It'll bless you. Anyway, God bless. Peace.